Number 15.
What is that? That's scary. Is that lightning? What the f is this?
One night in 2018, this intense blue light was seen flickering in the sky all across New York City. The light was so intense that you could see its reflection on the water, as if it were the middle of the day. To the left and right, the sky was still dark, but in the middle was a blazing blue event of massive proportions. The official explanation is a power generator failure caused by an arc of electricity to shoot up into the sky. But here's the thing, there was no blast, no fire, no one hurt. Firefighters didn't even examine inside of the building it allegedly happened in, according to news reports. And when you look up stories about the incident, a large number of the headlines seem to go out of their way to specifically mention it was not aliens. Kind of makes you wonder. Number 14. On December 1st, 2016, a fierce storm traveled up to this border in Israel and mysteriously stopped in place. The dark clouds gathered into a sideways moving funnel that refused to cross over the dividing line. Clear weather on the other side of the storm is visible here. The clouds are bunching up at the border, and the storm is becoming thinner, more condensed. Members of the Israeli Defense Force hold up cameras. They have never seen anything like this in all their years. This area is called the Golan Heights, and many lives on both sides have been lost in a territorial dispute dating back to the 60s. Is this strange weather or some type of message? A group of hikers traverse the wilderness in Quebec when they see a wild animal approaching the opposite way. The snow is probably about waist deep and the animal is using the path just like they are. The problem is it might not get out of their way, and they don't really have anywhere to go either. The only thing left to do is brace for contact. What looks to be a bear or even a giant wolf at first is actually a lone moose, which is almost just as bad because they are known to panic easily and can react with aggression. As a commenter stated, a moose is basically a semi-truck wrapped in fur. The group stands extremely still, but this plan doesn't work, and the animal runs straight towards them. Fortunately, the moose had good enough instincts to veer away at the last second and avoids them. You can tell by its massive size that this animal would have had no trouble trampling them and taking their lives if it so desired. Number 13. This creepy customer is dressed as the Joker in the middle of May. It looks like he is asking for directions or something, maybe for a bathroom, because the lady keeps pointing to somewhere else in the store. The fictional Joker would never waste his time on such a small score, but this one waits until her back is turned and makes a grab for the tip jar on the counter, which looks full. She comes back at the last second, and he just politely smiles to throw off any suspicions. When she leaves again, he looks around nervously at everywhere but the camera as he shoves the tip jar in his pocket and quickly ducks out. 3 masked men attempt a daring heist in Sydney, Australia at the Miller Shopping Centre. They are in the middle of taking jewels when literally everyone in the store decides they are not going to take this, and soon the men find themselves running for their lives. Customers and staff join together and chase the men out of the mall. Not even the fact one of the masked men is holding a sledgehammer is enough to hold back the angry vigilante mob. The 3 masked men flee into a red van and speed away with the mob close behind. With so many similar instances caught on video, it's quite a surprise to see everyone join in to chase off the robbers for once. Number 12. Schwinn Protocol wants to remodel his dreary basement, which only has a dirt floor. After digging many layers down, he finds this rusty old entranceway that presumably extends even deeper. He doesn't really have a good feeling about this at all, but he needs to know everything about the basement before he can get the job done, so he has to see for himself what's on the other side. He lifts the heavy cement plug, and white orbs soon follow, though I guess they could also be dust particles. Either way, he is puzzled to find a wide cavern filled with darkness. As his light traces along the rough edges of the floor, he slowly begins to piece together some unnerving observations out loud.
That's probably about a 13 or 15 foot drop. So definitely a bigger person wouldn't be able to fit down there. Wouldn't even be able to fit a ladder down there though,
So basically, this is a deep hole with an entrance that's too small for an adult, but just the right size to squeeze through a child. I'm not sure what this was really used for, but I do agree that it's weird to have a random hole in your basement that's easy to fall into and tough, if not impossible, to get out. To be fair, the YouTuber later wrote in the description that he thinks it was part of a drainage system that's no longer in use. Maybe he's right, or maybe he's just trying to explain something that he wishes he never saw. Someone could have spent their entire childhood down there for all we know. A YouTuber named Tommy Case is in the basement of an abandoned house when his flashlight crosses over someone wearing an all black and white stretched out face mask. Tommy Case runs away, but soon he has to turn his flashlight back on if he ever hopes to find the exit. Instead, he finds the same person again, but this time he manages to escape without looking back. Since the person just stands there and never reaches out for him, I think this is almost definitely a skit, but a well done one all the same. Number 11. A YouTuber named Alone in the Dark takes a 2-hour tour of a haunted hospital that has been out of commission for a long time. He repeatedly hears noises and gets signs that he is not alone, like here for example, when you can see a light appear out of nowhere in response to his voice.
Seems I hear ringing.
At one point on an upper floor, he finds a long streak of dried red liquid running down the wall from a nearby ceiling vent. It almost looks like someone was grabbed from above by something terribly strong and pulled up into the ventilation duct, where they met a horrible fate.
Looks like blood.
Something else strange about this video is how all of the cabinet doors that he passes by seem to be flung open. Cabinets opening by themselves is a classic sign of a haunting, so take that for what you will. When he is finally ready to leave, the paranormal events really pick up in ways you'll never guess.
There's a lot more going on in this neighborhood.
First, he hears an ambulance pull up to the defunct hospital, and then he sees shimmering lights on the ground. It could just be broken glass reflecting into the beam of his flashlight, but then again, it could be a paranormal energy signature. Either way, the timing of the ambulance siren is too much of a coincidence for me to believe this was anything normal. These paranormal investigating YouTubers traveled to a movie theater in Sagan, Texas, to take their chances with the ghost of a girl who repeatedly scratches the staff at random. It isn't long before they hear not footsteps, but rather a single footstep, which is somehow even more unnatural and unnerving. Listen and watch. No one else is around.
I'm come here to communicate with whoever lives here.
They keep hearing and seeing things that aren't quite showing up on camera. Short flashes of movement out of the peripheral vision that go away when they try to look. But this part, taken in the back right of the theater at 7 minutes in a section where they keep hearing most of the noise, seems to show someone in the seats looking back at them.
Man, there's some serious creaking going on these steps right here.
The face has no detail, even though these are good quality cameras with night vision, and the head looks nearly see-through, almost like the after image of someone who can only exist through sheer willpower and nothing more. Number 10. A YouTuber named ShayXL and her friend, Brandy Lynn, are trying on various outfits and walking around the mall when they apparently attract a follower. This is the first time they notice him, and they sound more annoyed than scared.
Why does this guy keep following us? Like, literally, he keeps following us. I'm in the mirror.
Compare this to the 4th time they see him, and you can tell they really are in fear. No one should have to go through this, and I feel really bad for them.
We just saw him again, so that's the 3rd time that we saw him. Oh my god, he's following us, he's following us.
The way he keeps glancing at them, while trying not to be obvious, makes me wonder how much practice he was doing this before. He obviously cannot control himself and keeps needing to take another look. He refuses to give up his pursuit and continues pretending to look at clothes. I guess it's possible, but somehow I seriously doubt he has more interest in these bright red dresses than he does in them. All of this might have been a coincidence, if not for this part, where he walks directly towards them at the end. In my opinion, he only stops and turns when he realizes they have his face on video.
Look, he's right there. He's literally following us.
Still, even knowing that he is caught on camera, he still passes them once more, and this time turns his head to stare. Is this all a big misunderstanding, or is he getting one final look in the most creepy way possible? Number 9. This house is supposedly haunted by a ghost who constantly controls the television. This experiment is offered as proof.
Okay, so now I'm gonna set this remote on the ground. Oh, there it is. Oh my god. That's creepy.
Somehow the old television turns on by itself. I will admit that the person's reaction does sound a little fake, but maybe this happens so often that they are barely surprised or scared anymore. I guess they could have someone with a second remote off camera, but this television looks pretty old and I don't even know if they make remotes for this make and model anymore. Let me know what you think of this paranormal experiment, because I am not entirely sure if this is just the result of faulty electronic wiring or fake altogether. Number 8. This video comes from a nature trail that is rumored to be the burial spot of a prominent Native American leader who passed on hundreds of years ago. The first 30 seconds don't catch much activity, but when the weather spontaneously changes and the whole scene becomes very different indeed.
I see something in the back.
See all the orbs? Look at this.
A soft rain falls and dozens of fast-moving orbs dart back and forth from all angles. At first I thought it was a swarm of gnats, but some of the orbs look way too big to be an insect, and some disappear in the mid-air. It likewise can't be raindrops because the orbs come down from all sides, and even from the bottom of the screen at times. To make things even stranger, a child soon perceives movements in the distance. Soon after, the wind picks up, and it almost looks like an invisible presence is walking down through the foliage in the exact same spot that the kid thought he saw something.
There's something moving. See it?
No.
Number 7. A man records his pet cat studying its reflection in a mirror for the very first time. The animal is fascinated, and over again, it tests the reflection by cautiously putting one paw in front of the other, almost as if it doesn't completely trust what it is seeing. Now satisfied that this mirror image is no threat, the cat settles down and looks behind for one moment, but as it turns out, its initial instincts were right all along. If you didn't catch it, the cat's reflection does not match the cat's own movements. So what do you think? Was this special effects or a once-in-a-lifetime moment caught on video? I'm convinced that house is haunted, since it looks too realistic to be done by amateur video editing. Number 6. Most people run away from monsters, but these two friends seem to be chasing one down. The creature looks to be very wide and is either covered in matted black fur or wearing huge black robes. I can't exactly tell which one. What I do notice are the impossibly large feet, and even though it's kind of hard to see, towards the end of this clip I can barely make out a gigantic white hand that is almost the size of its entire body. The creature's proportions make absolutely no sense, and when it turns around to defend itself against them, the front looks even more horrifying. Look again and you'll see the creature has a giant gray face that is twisted and warped beyond recognition. This still frame shows what I am talking about. Let me highlight the two eyes and open mouth so you can see it better. And of course, its oversized, gnarled hand is reaching out for them both. Number 5. A YouTuber named Yvonne hears a noise coming from her kitchen and grabs her phone to record. After 15 seconds of silence, a cabinet door opens to let an item drop onto the counter.
Oh my god.
The obvious answer is that someone pulled a string to open it. However, the cabinet opens to the right and no one is on that side. I guess someone could have been directly underneath, but when Yvonne gets closer, you can see nobody is on the ground, so I'm not sure what to think. Number 4. This mysterious CCTV video, taken from a warehouse belonging to a company called Party Packs, shows a stalker having all of his hard work undone in a matter of seconds when some items randomly fly off the shelf, which then begins to shake on its own. Nearby boxes almost fly into his face when he bends down to retrieve the fallen items. It could just be a string, but I definitely see some kind of tall figure standing just beyond the boxes just after it happens. Something is definitely moving its head here at the 36-second mark. After the stalker runs away, we get to see down the other side of the aisle from a different camera. That's when a transparent person briefly appears wearing a long robe that touches the floor, perhaps the same figure that appeared behind the boxes before. The camera malfunctions, and when it comes back, we see them again in the static, much closer this time, studying the camera curiously before it breaks entirely. The company would stop uploading for 7 years shortly after this video was made, so perhaps they really were scared out of business and recently reacquired. Number 3. This person's nails are just long enough to produce one of the most stressful sounds ever recorded. If you somehow are able to keep from cringing from stress at what I'm about to show you, consider me impressed. Worst of all, judging by these claw marks seen at the very beginning of the video, I think they tend to enjoy making this noise all of the time. This man claims he can make a wooden matchstick pass through a silver watch using nothing but sheer will. He focuses deeply for a moment and then proves it can be done.
For solid, through, solid. Thus.
I'm almost positive that this is sleight of hand, but I'm not sure. I don't see cuts in editing, and it really does look like it was done in one smooth take. If someone can please tell me how he does this, real or not, I would greatly appreciate the help. Number 2. An ex-YouTuber named Fantastic Daily sets up a webcam to record out of his window overnight, certain that he will capture a paranormal entity that has haunted him for some time, a man with pure black eyes. After 5 days of playing a sound file that's meant to attract spirits, he finally catches this strange visitor on his front porch. Is this just a man wearing a robe, or is this a ghost like he claims? The video quality is not that great, but even zoomed in all the way, you still cannot see the figure's eyes. The former YouTuber claims this phantom stood outside for an hour before abruptly disappearing. Now, you might have noticed that in the beginning, I said ex-YouTuber Fantastic Daily. That's because shortly after this video was recorded, his entire YouTube channel was taken down. You can say what you want about this video, but one fact remains, it's years later and he has yet to return. A ghost investigation video from Oregon, while admittedly grainy and out of focus, nonetheless captures 2 possibly paranormal instances that are worth analyzing. The first is a brief materialization of a shirt or tunic against the wall. From this floating clothing item, a phantom person emerges. Barely noticeable are the head, nose, and 2 eyes. Then again, this could be wavy details caused by motion blur, but motion blur does not explain the glowing white eyes that briefly flicker at 11 seconds into the video and quickly go away. I don't care how poor the camera quality is, whatever this is, in my opinion, it should not be there, and yet it is. I've got a challenge for you. Since you've made it this far, why not like this video and hit subscribe in the next 5 seconds? because we upload a new scary video every week. If you're curious about what I look like in real life, then go to my Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT and tap that follow button to find out. Number 1. A small dog barks its head off at the door while a second one sits quietly like nothing is wrong. After barking for 7 seconds, the dog tracks an invisible figure with its head, and then piano music plays, followed by a faraway voice soothingly saying the word deer. According to the uploader, they did not hear this piano music or the voice until they watched this video. In fact, the only reason they started recording in the first place was because one dog was barking and not the other. Nobody else was in the house, and this was just before 3 a.m. Thanks for checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe because we upload new countdowns every Tuesday and Saturday. Or if you're still not convinced, here are some of our other videos that I think you'd like. Enjoy!